Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of the Second Amendment Foundation's The Daily Bullet. I'm your host, Paul Lathrop. Joining me today is Robyn Sandoval. She is the executive director of A Girl and a Gun. You have seen her at Gun Rights Policy Conference. I'm sure you've heard of A Girl and a Gun before. Thank you, Robyn, for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, Paul, for having me.
So let's talk about A Girl and a Gun. How did it get started?
A Girl and a Gun was founded back in February 2011. Juliana Crowder is in Austin, Texas. She's a firearms instructor, and she was just looking for a way to bring more women to the range. She would often go to IDPA matches, and there would be women there, but they would be sitting on the sidelines supporting their husbands. And she would say, "Well, don't you want to come shoot?" And they would say, "No, I'm fine." So that really perplexed her. And she had the idea to host this happy hour kind of event at the range. She brought her talent, she brought her guns, and 5 women showed up. And they had such a great time that in 2 weeks they did it again. And in 2 weeks they did it again. And I came to that girls' night out as a brand new gun owner, not knowing anything about anything. You know my story. I was strongly anti-gun. And so it wasn't until that moment that I was willing to learn and wanting to learn and didn't know where else to go. So I reached out to Juliana, and she taught me she taught me everything I know. So that's kind of how A Girl and a Gun got started. So it started with that one group at a range of 5 women outside Austin, Texas. And now we have Girls Night Out at more than 200 ranges nationwide. Every day of the week, there's a Girl and a Gun Girls Night Out happening somewhere in the country.
That is so very cool. And you did this past spring, early summer, you did you normally have a in-person conference and then had to switch gears and do digital, virtual this past time. I gotta say, you did a great job at it.
Thank you. That was a real challenge, but with COVID, we didn't want to stop our conference. This was our national conference. It's our biggest event of the year. Our ladies look forward to it year round, and Juliana and I were determined to bring it to them since we couldn't all gather together in person. So you're right, it's a huge event, and it's a logistical amazement. We have 450 participants, about 100 on staff, and we do live fire training on pretty much every topic that you can think of as a gun owner. So pistols, rifles, shotguns, defense, competition, long-range precision. We even shoot out of the helicopter. So anything you can think of, we do it. Knife defense, unarmed defense, archery, all of it. And it's so much fun. And it was just really heartbreaking to not be able to do it in person this year. So a lot of our instructors stepped up. Many of them had never done a virtual training course before. And we kind of tackled it together. And we were able to really create this incredible dynamic learning experience virtually for about 450 participants.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. So other than the national conference, now you're saying that there's a Girl and a Gun, all 50 states?
We have members in all 50 states. We have chapters in most states. We have a lot of e-chapter members who are chapters that don't have or members who don't have a chapter in their area. They can join our national e-chapter, which is a virtual chapter, so that they can still get the training and the camaraderie and the connection with the rest of us. But we have a Girls' Night Out happening somewhere in the nation every single day. We are at more than 200 ranges. That's really the heartbeat of our organization. So we have these ongoing, recurring training events happening in all over the country. But you're right, National Conference is our biggest event of the year. And then in the summer, we have our Clays tournament, which is lots of fun. And then in the fall, we have a 3-gun match. And that's where we really focus on competition. So our mission as an organization is education, recreation, competition, and community. And we hit all 4 of those pillars at all of our big events.
Now, it's an open secret that these are pre-recorded, and this will not be released until November, but I believe as we record this in late October, isn't your 3-gun match this weekend?
We just had it last weekend. So we had 100 participants come out to Alabama, and it was incredible. We had 100 ladies compete, a 3-gun match. We had a pandemic, we had a hurricane come over us. So despite the odds, it was 100 ladies that had a really great time.
Very, very cool. Let's expand a little bit on that 3-gun match. Is that open to anybody associated with a girl and a gun? Is it invitation? How did the 100 women get selected that competed?
No, you don't have to be a member of a Girl and a Gun to come to Fall Fest. It's open for all female competitors. So if you're a woman who wants to shoot three gun, come out. We would love for you to join us. So the sport of three gun is on the clock, shooting pistol, rifle, and shotgun on stages. We have different stages that require different courses of fire, and it's just so much fun.
Very cool. So I want to talk a little bit about your personal story as we've got a little bit of time here today. As you stated earlier in the interview here, you started, and I've known you for a while, and again, open secret that, and not even a secret, you're a part of my staff on the Polite Society podcast. You started off your journey as rabidly anti-gun, and over time, things have made a complete 180. What was the impetus for the change from anti-gun to starting to become pro-gun?
For me, it was the moment that I was watching the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina when I saw a modern American city become completely debilitated overnight. There was devastation, destruction, death, violence, and families were really left on their own. And as an anti-gunner, that was kind of a foreign concept to me that you could really be on your own and that no one was coming and that the protection of your family fell solely upon you. So it was the moment when I saw a mother getting on a bus, a mother at the Superdome. She handed her children to a stranger getting on a bus to Houston, and she said, "Please take them. I'll try to find you in a few days." They thought it was the end of the world, how quickly things can fall apart. And it broke my heart. And I turned to my husband and I said, "What do I have to do that's never me? That no matter what happens, we can hunker down as a family, we can stay together." And I said, "I'm going to start storing some peanut butter and tuna fish, and we're just going to be prepared." And he said, "That's fine, but if it's the end of the world, or if it feels that way, and people are left on their own, and first responders are unable to respond, someone's going to kick in our door for our peanut butter and tuna fish. How are we going to stop them?" And I had always thought of my home as a gun-free zone, and it had never occurred to me that my home would only be a gun-free zone so long as no one brought a firearm into my home, that wasn't really in my control. What was in my control was how I could be prepared to respond to that incident if it ever should happen. So that really started opening my eyes to the opportunity to be my family's first responder and to learn more about self-defense and all of the things that encompass with it. You know, we've talked a lot. It's not just about the gun, the mindset, the firearm itself, but first aid and knife defense and other tools in your toolbox, pepper spray, other things. It's knowing the full gamut of the ways that you can protect yourself and your family. So that really started my journey. And I was lucky that I was in the same city and at the same time that Juliana was starting a Girl and a Gun. So I went to my first girls' night out, just like any woman can come to her first girls' night out. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know anything. And I don't know if I was more scared of going to a gun range or shooting a gun or meeting other women, but I did it, and it changed my life forever.
One thing I've noticed in my time around guns, and I've taken a bunch of training, is that guys will rib each other. Guys are hyper competitive. But when I'm around women that are in the training environment and around guns, it's almost the opposite. They are super encouraging, and they are I want to say fans of each other. They push each other on. And I think that's a beautiful thing that happens.
Yeah, we're really competitive too, but there is that camaraderie and support that happens that it's really just magical for when women get together. The guys always laugh because we'll be at a match or a course of fire or a stage or even a defensive class, and even if someone misses the target, everyone's cheering, "Good job, good try," and the guys are like, "Wait, she missed. Why are we clapping?" It's just really cute that they don't understand, but there's just something about that supportive environment that really makes women be able to come out and cheer each other on and ask those important questions. I think that's the most important thing, is that a lot of times that conversation can happen for more learning, the opportunities to ask more questions and have more conversation about how this affects our families and our children and our jobs and our future. it's just a really great way for women to come together and learn more from each other.
Now, is it? I'm guessing here. I obviously, being an old bald white guy, I don't have any insight as to what women and guns go through, other than my wife's experience. But I would imagine, as a lady, it might be easier to go to another lady for information about firearms, or is it an intimidation factor, or am I totally off base?
I think it's just sometimes being overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. So when you see a women's group and it's available to you and it's open and welcoming and a judgment-free zone, you know that you can start there. It's a good starting place for you to go and ask questions. And if you've been shooting forever, if you grew up shooting with your dad and you shoot with your husband or you shoot by yourself or with your friends, it's just a really great way for you to come out and shoot with the girls. So whether you're starting or whether you just want to shoot with other people and try different things, that's one thing that we really emphasize is that ever student mindset. So whether it's defensive training, we do a lot of defensive training, but we also love competition. We love trigger time. We love shooting on the clock. We love lots of different sports, whether it's sporting clays or three gun or, cowboy action is really coming big in our community. So there's a lot of different ways people can participate that are fun and recreational, but then also give you that trigger time and that community and maybe some competition too.
Sure. Well, we're coming up on the end of our time, Robyn. If somebody, you say you got members in all 50 states, chapters in most of them. If somebody wants to become more involved or check out Girl and a Gun, how do they do it?
They can go to agirlandagun.org and they can find a chapter near them. Like I said, if there's not a chapter near you, you can join our national e-chapter and participate with us virtually and come to our national conference and our Fall Fest and all the other great getaways that we have planned throughout the year.
Very, very cool. Robyn, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Paul, for the opportunity.
All right, folks, I want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe. Hit the button, the bell, so that you get notified when one of these pops. And come join us tomorrow. We'll have another one.